Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. I'm Kim Greenhouse. I want to wish you all a happy new year. That is when this video is going to be published and available to you all. If you've watched It's Rainmaking Time, you know that we cover new and ancient knowledge and discovery, and we love exploration. And of course, when you love exploration and you track this, you have to be willing to learn things you didn't know before. Things that you heavily believe in, you may find out are really different, the reality of it. And it takes real courage to embrace new knowledge. And sometimes that new knowledge is ancient knowledge that's been buried or suppressed or lost in time throughout different civilizations. The subject that we're going to talk about today and the guest that we've invited on is one of my favorite subjects and also one of my favorite guests who we've never had on the show before. We've done several shows on the subject of remote viewing, and I'll just translate, and then we're going to have him do the formal translation. The ability to identify any data, any information happening at any time in history, past, present, or future, through a protocol that's been taught, originally started at the Stanford Research Institute, and also over at Army Intelligence, and it's developed over the last 40 years. There are different groups of people that do this work. Some call it psychic spying. Some call it seeing specific detail into the future using the subconscious in a trained protocol. And there's different factions of remote viewing. Some are trained in only something called controlled remote viewing, and others are trained in remote viewing. Whatever it is that brings through the data and information into accuracy, we're interested in. I'm always interested in that. The gentleman we've invited on the show is considered a master in the field, has been doing remote viewing for 27 plus years. He's had a long trajectory, believe it or not, in the news, in mainstream news. He's been part of the news that even was around presidents from Bush and Obama and Reagan, senior and junior, both senior and junior Bushes. He is considered a journalist, but he's really a fine reporter, and he is one of the top remote viewers in the world. He is part of a group that he founded called the Future Forecasting Group, which is a team of remarkable remote viewers that work together to bring through what we need to know about the coming times, how to prepare our lives for these very, very difficult times and changes ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dick Allgire to It's Rainmaking Time. Thanks for being here.
Kim, it's great to be with you. It's good to finally meet you, and I'm so happy to be here. This is going to be a really interesting discussion. We're going to have fun.
No, I know. That's one of the things I love about you is that as good as you are, as great as you are in what you do, you're very lighthearted and you're fun. And it's very hard to find that integration of lightheartedness, fun, with the gravity of what you actually do and are part of. It's phenomenal.
You know
it's rare.
What's fun for me is I started doing YouTube and got some notoriety on YouTube. And there are a lot of people that had only seen me doing my segments with Courtney Brown at Farsight. So their only exposure to me was me at a whiteboard where I'm being completely focused and I'm doing really heavy duty remote viewing on serious 9/11, Roswell, the JFK, and I'm here in the midst of all this turmoil and a very serious person. So they saw me doing stuff on YouTube where I'm just being sarcastic and flippant, and making jokes of things. And they said, "Wow, you're a pretty funny guy, Dick." Yeah. So yeah, I can be lighthearted. I don't take myself too seriously, hopefully.
I did some research about you, and one of the things I really appreciated from somebody who has a long lineage of teachers and mentors and coaches and people have helped me in different fields throughout my life. You talked about Professor M. Nefsmart. what is his name? Who helped
M.
you?
Neff
And
Smart. Yes.
yes,
My
yes,
oh man, that's going back to
I know,
1970.
but he was an important part that trained you about integrity, honesty, not being biased, how to
He
be in your earlier craft, and I see it in you now today.
I remember him telling us, oh, and I was very young. I was like 18 at the time in a journalism school when he said, as a journalist, you have the honor, you have the privilege of witnessing something and being the eyes and ears of the general population. You have a duty to witness that and transcribe it and report it accurately without bias. And I always took that to heart when I was at a news story. I was seeing that for the general population. In my career, I interviewed presidents, governors, senators, congressmen, mayors, city council members. None of them ever knew my political bias. Well, I never had political bias. I thought they were all, but they never could have known how I voted because I never injected myself. And now I see journalists that are just um, pushing propaganda, pushing a company line. They're totally biased. And it's okay now. It's like, that's not okay.
It's a tough time to be a journalist today.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I think it's even worse, and also even in many of the online portals to be a journalist too. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I really don't know how they would even compete if they don't do what they're told. They're gone, gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
the internet has created a lot of great things, but also a lot of polarization. So it's a tough time to be a journalist.
everybody can be a journalist these days. Back when I was on TV, there was no Zoom. You couldn't do videos on your iPhone. Um, only to have a video camera, these things cost $40,000. The editing suite cost $150,000. You couldn't transmit it only over the television.
Cable or from
Yeah, over
television.
cable. So it was limited. And to be part of that, to be an insider and be able to do that was something significant. Now everybody can do it. But it's a model that they've used. It used to be to own a TV station, you had to invest in all this equipment, pay all these people, go out and get advertisers. You had to have a building with the
Infrastructure,
trafficking,
all the
the whole infrastructure. Now you can just give someone a smartphone and they can be the content creator, and Google will find the advertisers for you. So it spreads it out. It decentralizes information.
kind of. I think that you're right when you talk about it that way. But I
But
think the centralization still is in full force because of
yeah,
the so many years
well,
of algorithms. You
somebody
know,
told me very early on how easy it is if you take an influencer, someone that has a YouTube channel, and somebody gets a hold of them and says, okay, hey, let me give you a good story you might want to do, or here's an interview. And then the YouTuber puts that segment up and notices all of a sudden the algorithms make it go viral and they start making money off that. You can steer them in a direction by just gently applying pressure and giving them more views, and they will acquiesce to that. So it's very easy to do. And there are entities, there are people, there are organizations that this is done. Everything is controlled.
it's phenomenal how much it is. I remember
Yep.
years ago I was told, put all those interviews on YouTube and monetize. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you, my instinct was do not be dependent on it. If you have a slogan like "Don't be evil" and they're doing what they're doing with data, I mean, I everything in my instinct said don't be dependent on them. And the algorithms, all these years, they just gathered more and more data. They actually tricked the public. They tricked the common person who entrusted them. Everything
Yeah.
would be changing, the protocol. So we're in a different world. And
Well, Kim, here's some breaking
yeah,
news for you. We
please.
just did a remote viewing project that, as we're recording this conversation, it hasn't come out yet. It will come out with the new year, so it probably will come out about the time that this is released. We did a remote viewing on Google in the future,
Oh
like
my God.
2027, and what we saw is startling. I can't give it away now, but that's a tease for you can go see
Well,
it.
I think it's important. I actually think it's very, very important. And I'm very glad that you have a private membership group because,
Well, the
I
reason
mean,
the reason for that is all information is controlled.
yeah.
And if you're putting something out in public, you have to be careful. So if you're in a private setting, it is allowed. It is
I will
allowed.
tell you that I just finished, just briefly, an interview with Valentina Zarkova, who's a solar physicist and a mathematician of
Mhm.
galactic, no pun intended, galactic proportion. And I had done 26 shows on climate and weather, every facet of it. And I got a lot of flack for it in the years ago before I went to live in
Yeah.
Europe. And I was totally open. I covered every aspect you could think of, except for the sun. And I started to learn about solar cycles and all that. Anyway, I did this hour-and-a-half interview with her. And it's kind of the verification that 200 to 300 years of old tools to measure things were in a different realm. And she got into the layers and the detail of what the grand solar minimum is, what the grand solar maximum is,
Yep.
and all of that. And so, and even just as an example, the fact that CO2, we all know, those in the know that it's the breath of life. But what it's turned into is something completely different. Well, she figured out what they did to make this thing about CO2 that has nothing to do with anything, but it's what the
Yeah.
world is believing now. So I decided I'm done with this GOOGLE and the YOUTUBE. I put a 4.5 minute trailer, and that's it. And everything else is on its rainmaking time.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean, but I think a private site is even better.
we have a source at Future Forecasting who is a gentleman who his voice can't be on YouTube. We put it on as a promo accidentally, and the algorithms caught it, and some people got a hold of him and said, you're on YouTube. He went, no, and we had to take it right down. So we have a source that can only speak privately.
Yeah.
Which is
I
one of
totally
the,
understand.
yeah.
Totally understand. I want to go back to your dad was a photographer, correct?
Wow, you know a lot about me. My dad
Well,
had
I mean,
a
I
famous,
I spent some time
my
about
dad
it.
had a picture in Life magazine. My dad was a public relations guy, worked for U.S. Steel. And he took a famous picture of a ship being launched sideways into the Detroit River. I was probably 6 years old. He took us there in this ship, and it was up on shore. They had constructed it, and they knocked out the supports, and things slid into the water. And my dad got this photograph that was put in Life magazine, famous picture.
Wow.
My
Wow,
dad was a
that
great guy.
predates us.
He was a musician. He played music. He was a great father. I mean, he just took the family sledding, Christmases, vacations. I grew up in the Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best.
Me too. God help us all.
Yeah, that whole
Yeah.
era of yeah, one
And you
father
had your
working.
Yeah, and you had your background as a young child taking still pictures, right? Still
Yep,
photography.
my father had a Nikon camera, a Nikon, two old school cameras in a dark room in our basement, taught me how to use it, let me use his cameras. So I went out and took pictures. And that's how I got into journalism, because I was in the photographer for the school newspaper. And the advisor to the school newspaper gave me hall passes that would let me cut class and be where I shouldn't be to take pictures. And so I thought, wow, this is great. Journalism is big fun. So that got me into journalism, and I went to college, took a journalism course, got an internship at KUTV, the NBC affiliate in Salt Lake City, Utah, and became a newscaster at 20 years old.
Wow. I didn't know you grew up in Utah.
I did. I was born in Detroit, moved there to Utah when I was 10, grew up and went to school in Utah and worked there for 74 to, 8, 10 years. Then came to Hawaii in January.
On business to Hawaii or love? Or what was
No,
it?
I came
Or neither.
just to get warm, and I got off the plane and I went, I'm home. I'm not leaving. And I went and I packed up and I thought, I'm going to try this. I'm young enough. If it works, it'll be great. If not, I'll just go back home. And I brought videotapes back when you used to have like 3/4 inch cassettes. And I gave one to all the TV stations here and went to the beach. Came back one day and one of the news directors had left a message, call Paul Udell at KITV. I went in and he hired me, and here I am, still in Hawaii. Yep.
So you and Hawaii have a love connection there. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a beautiful
it's
place. Still a beautiful place.
the culture, the people, it is just wonderful. Not to mention the weather. It's also I think it's a heart chakra of the earth.
Very much so. Very
Yeah.
much so. It's funny that you should say that, because when I was in Europe and I went all to these different places, one of my favorite places was Italy. And somebody said, why? I said, it's the heart chakra of Europe.
Yeah. I need to go
And
to Italy. I've never been there. I want to just go there
oh,
and
they're
eat the
so
food.
sweet.
Yeah.
They're wild. Okay. Just tell me one thing. I just want to ask about your mom. If your mom were alive today, what would she say about your work in remote viewing? I'm dying to know.
She would think it was great. Well, all moms are psychic, as you
Yeah.
know. My
Yeah.
mom was particularly psychic. She used to, you know, like call me up and say, I had a feeling something happened to your dog. And I went, yeah, my dog just fell out of the car. And so she, I think I got some ability from her. She would think it was great. My mom, yeah, she passed away in 2001 before I was remote viewing then, but not as well, not as good as I am.
You were still
So
training, right? Were you
yeah,
still
I was still
training?
training.
Yeah.
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 But
Okay.
she totally believed in it, thought it was cool. Yeah, she likes it.
What did your dad think? Was he alive to know what you were doing there?
Yes, yes. He actually tested me one time, gave me a target, and I hit it. And he was
Probably got
impressed.
scared at that point.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating.
So
Talk to the audience from your translation what remote viewing is from your
remote
experience.
remote viewing is a natural communication skill. It's something inherent in all of us. It's a natural communication skill. The goal is to open a communication pathway between your primary awareness and your subconscious so that you can, on demand, have moments of non-local awareness. The way I describe it is the stock human being comes off the shelf with a subconscious awareness, part of us that is in a greater field of consciousness. But we're not aware of that because we're here in these bodies having this three-dimensional experience. And our brain is like a filter that filters out this subconscious awareness. Throughout your whole life, most people are, your subconscious is trying to tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, listen to me. And you don't tune it in. The US military came up with a way to use these protocols, this methodology to quiet your conscious mind and turn your attention toward your subconscious awareness using a series of steps and protocols to form queries, little questions, and have that moment of non-local awareness, and then let that bloom into a greater aperture, greater opening.
The non-local awareness, can you describe that for the audience so they have a reference point? Because you know you speak it from the inside of the ability. If you
Well, my
can
teacher
translate that.
Glenn, my teacher Glenn describes it as, can you stand beside yourself? And could I, while I'm talking to you, walk to the door behind me and open it? It's like being two places at once. The way I describe it, it's like, if all information exists in a greater field, and we're right now focused on right now, it's like watching a video on YouTube. Think of all the videos that are there. And when you go to a specific video, you play it and the timeline goes through it like this, in a linear fashion. But you can go pick another video and go to a different spot on the timeline. And remote viewing allows your awareness to go be in a different place at a different time. It's hard to explain.
That you can be here in your body, be alive, and at the same time send your awareness out, whether it is to the backside of the moon or to Mars, or to the back of your car or in a drawer, correct?
Yeah.
And still be here, but you train how to send your awareness out and extract data from that location, sense, smell, feel, everything, correct?
I did a target one time where I was sitting at this very desk. I had a red light on and white noise going. And I was working a target, and I realized there was a room, and in the room, there was a safe hidden under a floor. And so I realized that, and I'm sketching that and drawing it, and I'm back and forth. And then I said, well, I need to know what's in the safe. And so I set my intent and closed my eyes and did a protocol. And I saw inside the safe a gun, some coins, and a ledger, a fake ledger. So yeah, you can send your mind anywhere if you learn how to do it.
The origin of this capability and this expertise originally was classified. Then it was unclassified.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet there seems to be a growing number of people who are training, whether it's in Lynn Buchanan's team, or whether it's at Future Forecasting Group, and you're doing it differently. He does what he calls controlled remote viewing. You do remote viewing. But the thing I also love about what you're doing with your group, and I think it's going to really forward the whole field, is that by joining the group, I get to see what works and what doesn't. I get to see whether you're accurate or not. You're willing to put yourself out there. It's not this mysterious hidden thing. I love that you've put sunlight on it. It's more risky because you don't know your targets. Explain that part to the public, that you never know what you're going to be looking at.
It has to be blind, and preferably double blind, because the signal is so faint. When you sit down what we do is we generate random letters or numbers. So the target could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or we use A1, B2, C3, D4. We have a random letter number generator generate that. Someone called a targeteer knows that if we're going to look at Google headquarters in 2007, you don't tell the viewer that because there's too much conscious mind interference.
2007 or 2027?
2027. Oh, man.
I was going to say we're going back in time. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting. You could do that too.
You'll be in a new film called Back to the Future. Okay, go ahead.
So the targeteer assembles all the information about Google and looks at that and immerses their consciousness in that. And they write a target queue, like Google headquarters activity 2027. And then they generate a random set of like A1, B2, C3, D4. And they say that aloud. They go, A1, B2, C3, D4 is Google headquarters in 2027.
So it's imprinted into the random numbers.
They imprint that into it.
Correct.
They entrain it. We're just given the random numbers and we say, here's your target, A1, B2, C3, D4. And then what that allows you to do is have what we call a null moment when I address that target ID. And by the way, A1, B2, C3 is not a real target. That's just
it's just a reference of what you're
yeah.
Okay.
So I sit down and I go, okay, and I look at that for 1 second and I have to be open to anything. And I go from there. So it allows the viewer to have no preconceptions.
In remote viewing, as I understand it, and controlled remote viewing, how do you distinguish in what you and your team are doing the distinction between what you're pulling through and your own analytical overlay? In other words, your own biases, just stuff, that ability to distinguish the data from your own stuff. How do you do that? How do you manage that?
Practice, 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 practice. Hundreds of targets. You have to learn. What I maintain is that the protocol methodology, controlled remote viewing, HRVG, any method, it gives you the tools to learn how to remote view. That doesn't teach you how to remote view. It gives you the structure. The learning how to remote view is a result of addressing a target, getting data, and then getting feedback. And when you get that feedback, you realize what the good data felt like how your mind was working when you got that. In the method I was taught, which is HRVG, formed by a U.S. Army Special Forces, we never were afraid of AOLs. Like, we never used the term analytical overlay. Our goal was to name the target. And if you saw the session I just did on Maria Orsic, I actually at one point wrote Maria. There was a point in the session where I knew it was a very psychic lady. And I
watched the whole thing. It was remarkable.
Yeah, it was a pretty good session.
Wow.
And you can see that on futureforecastinggroup.com. Here's my plug. There's a free 7-day trial. Go to futureforecastinggroup.com and see the Maria Orsic. So if you recall, there was a moment in there where I went, she's like Hitomi Akamatsu. She's like Lanvo, the great psychic. Yeah. And I thought, would they give me Hitomi as a target? And then I realized, no, this was in the past. This was old Europe. So, yeah, the wrestling with analytical overlay, your conscious mind is always trying to butt in and
tell you what it is.
Make assumptions. Yeah, make assumptions. What you need to do is just learn how to set that aside. And I think it's only from experience. I mean, I've done probably 1,000 remote viewings.
I mean, there's no way to me. I mean, there are psychically developed people with a lot of capability. I mean, in business for other people, I have a developed psychic ability. And but I don't sell my business services like that. It just happens to be there. I would never, ever do that. But I'm not a remote viewer.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I've taken a class in remote viewing. I've taken a class in remote viewing, and I did pretty well in it. But as far as I know, I'm not a remote viewer. But I swear to God, you put me in a business meeting with people, I will zero in on stuff you will not believe. Like, I don't know where it comes from. Somebody upstairs flipped a switch. It's automatic.
Yeah. Well, you're a woman. You're naturally psychic. Women have that.
I think, but I think we're.
But see, everybody does. Everybody does.
I was just going to say everybody is. It's just men are more tuned to turn it off.
When someone approached me almost 7 years ago and said, you could remote view on a private site and people would pay. I was like, no, I'm not good enough. I'd be afraid if people were offering, like if somebody gave me $10,000 to do a target, oh man, what if I didn't do a good enough remote viewing, And then I remember when Daz and I were working with Courtney Brown and we were doing something called Time Cross, and that was, we were attempting to see major events before they happened. And what we were doing was, remote viewers are real hesitant about being wrong. So Daz and I would do sessions and we would find a way to document them. We would publish them on YouTube, but make them private. And then when the events happened, like I did the Pulse nightclub shooting, and I had that amazing data before that happened. But Courtney had put that on YouTube. And then when it happened, we said, okay, it's a hit. And he made it public. And when he made it public, it dated it the day that he made it public. So people looked at it and said, well, you published this after the fact, even though I had done it.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Unless they're not part of a group, it's too hard. They don't know.
So Courtney said, we've got to publish this in the clear ahead of time. And Daz and I both went, oh, no. Oh, we can't do that. And he talked us into it. And we said, okay, this is going to be embarrassing and we might look really silly, but if it works. And then
still courageous to do. It's still very courageous to do it because a lot of this work is cloaked.
Do that to be given a blind target ID. And I go on future forecasting every week, and I'm still blind when we start the Zoom. Like, here we are, we're recording to this week's target is, B3Z2-L1Q7. Dick, what did you get? And it's like, well, I think it's a person that, and then they give us the feedback, and you can see the remote viewers on our broadcast. They give it to us and we're like, sometimes we're like, oh, right. And you can hear us clicking, like looking through our data and like trying to resolve it out. It's really interesting.
It's fascinating.
But yeah, to do that every week, say, okay, you're going to do a remote viewing and you're going to talk for 15 minutes about your target. Or like in the case of Maria Orsic, I knew I felt like I was getting good target contact, and I submitted my paper session and I said, I think I want to do a whiteboard on this. And all I was told was, yes, do a whiteboard.
When you talk about target contact, just tell the viewers what you mean by that. I know what you mean by that, but I want people to know what you mean by that. Target contact.
In my method, I attempt to get sensory data. So I sit there and I write the target ID in my mind's eye, and then I close my eyes and I look for 1.5 seconds and I try to see something and I draw that. And usually it's just a black and white blur of a flash of an idea. And then I go through the methodology and I look for something, and it might just be a right angle or something resembling a structure or a glowing human form or a landscape. And then I get sounds. So, like a horse going, a horse's hoof going clip clop, smell of hay and manure. So you're building layers of sensory data. Sometimes when you're working a target, it just jumps out at you. It just comes unexpectedly. You're getting all these impressions. Other times you work a target and it's like getting a root canal. It's like
something you don't want to get, by the way.
I'm not getting anything here. I don't have target contact.
Mm-hmm.
So one extreme is you're totally off target and your imagination is running amok and you're making something up, and it feels so good because you know what the data is before you probe for it. You go, well, this is, and you've already got the idea. In a real remote viewing session, when you're really getting good data, it's unexpected. When you do the query or do the probe, it comes to you like, old architecture. Like, wow, why'd I think of that? You just put it down and move on. So
I love
it's
your
not,
notes and drawings, by the way. You are good. And I love watching you on the whiteboards. I love those whiteboards. I know everything is typically, but you do both. You do the written
I,
and the whiteboards. Oh my
yeah,
God, I love that.
Kim, I should show you the outtakes that I have. I was doing I was doing the Roswell, no, was it Roswell or Area 50? One of those famous UFO cases for Courtney Brown. And I've got the whiteboard set up, and I had an easel that wasn't very steady, and because I'm tall, I'm 6'1", I put it up on yoga blocks to get it a little higher. So I've got this rickety easel, and I'm just out there. I'm going, this is a facility where they're examining some craft, and I'm erasing it. I'm getting all excited, and the whiteboard starts kind of teetering, and I'm trying to maintain,
Aw.
professionalism. And the thing is, it tilts a little bit, and I'm writing, and the thing it collapsed, and I just went, rah, rah, rah. I'm swearing and screaming, and I'm throwing stuff. One time I did one, and I did a 40-minute remote viewing. I had colored pens, and I drew this intricate stuff, and I broke it all down, and I'm all sweaty. It was hot, and I put the SD card in, and I'm looking at it, and it wasn't in focus. It was just a little out of focus. And so I thought that was such a good remote viewing, and it was so spontaneous. And then I looked at it, I go, we're going to put this out, and people, it's not right. And I said, I got to redo it again. I got to remember all that. And so I set it up and did it again. I was exhausted by the end of that. But
I'm
yeah,
sure.
even at the Maria Orsic one, I'm at the beginning, like I'm sitting there, and I need to go into this state where I'm totally absorbed in it. And I've got to make sure the camera's focused. Is the microphone on? Is everything recording? Is the light okay? There's a
Just
leaf
like I
blower
am now. God help us all.
Yeah. So anyway, it's it's a performance. It when it goes well, it's
I like it that you're not, but you're very much at the board, busy at work with what you're doing. That's what I like, and talking and communicating. I don't know how
well,
you do it all, but
that's
that's
my
really cool.
that's my TV background, being used to being on camera.
Hmm.
So the first few times I did a whiteboard at remote viewing, I did a test one. Well, the first one I ever did, because my teacher had done a couple of spectacular ones, and I picked the target. I alone knew it, and I watched him stand there at the whiteboard and just completely nail it. And I was like,
Wow.
wow, that's magic. I need to learn how to do that. So I secretly set up a whiteboard in the basement of the TV station and got a camera, and I got, okay, I took a target ID, and it was an abysmal failure. I didn't get any target data. So then I did another one where it was good target. This one's on the internet. There was a missing girl that I did, but I looked like I was really uncomfortable. I mean, it just didn't look very good. So I've learned how to
Put it all together.
focus on the
Do,
board, and then pretend the camera is a person, and I'm just telling them about what I'm
exactly.
seeing.
That's the
So
best way because it kind of is.
yeah, yeah,
It tells us also that you're able to go back. Now, one of the important things is the ability to get feedback from the work that you do. But
yeah.
there are some things, Dick, that we're not going to get feedback in our lifetime. There are some things that the feedback will come after our lifetime. Just like there's some things in the ancient past we'll get, like, let's take the Sphinx, for example. The geologist out of Boston over 25 years ago noticed that the Sphinx represents a key water event in history that is being cloaked by the head of antiquities of the country, and that if we understood this water event, we may find out that the whole history we've been told is part of our history changes. It changes the date of when humanity came,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So,
Well, this is a really interesting question, and I can go about 3 directions with that.
any
So let
way
me
you
go a
want.
couple
Try
couple
door 1,
directions.
2, and 3 you can do.
Okay. What brings to mind is Ingo Swann published a book many years ago where he made some predictions about, was it the moon or Jupiter or something? There was some really far out data that Ingo Swann had.
Was
that
it in
came
his
true.
book Penetration? Penetration? Was that it?
Yeah. Ingo Swann had some really far out data that NASA later confirmed, like decades later. It's very important to have a body of work that demonstrates your ability on verifiable targets. That's one thing my instructor hammered home to us, is you get this skill and there is a desire, a tendency to go after the esoteric, after the what we call woo-woo, the unverifiable targets, like what are the aliens doing on Aldebaran or something like that, for which you'll never get feedback. And it's enticing to viewers because they don't have to demonstrate the skill. No one can ever prove them wrong. I see groups, I'm not going to name any, but
Understood.
there's people that they just do targets of this nature, and you can never prove them wrong. So I had to do target after target after target on completely verifiable things. Like, can you remote view the Brooklyn Bridge? And then it's more believable when you do occasionally the far out things.
Right. So here's a question here, and I don't want to give this part away to the public because I want them, if they go into your site and become a member, to find it there. But you did a session, and it was a few years ago, I think, on who is the founder of Bitcoin.
Yeah. It wasn't Satoshi Nakamoto.
Right. And
we got data on a think tank, university level people. Yeah.
And yet in terms of the feedback, I mean, I totally understand why it's the effort to stay grounded, go for where you can get feedback and focus there. Totally get it. But in fact, in this context, you can't get feedback. And yet you got your feedback through your craft, your remote viewing feedback after all of these sessions that you've done. So it's a different kind of feedback, would you say?
Yeah. Well, we might get feedback on that.
Okay, that'd be
years
cool.
from now.
Yeah.
I've gotten a form of feedback on that because I know someone who has knowledge of such things. Okay, here's a good tease for you.
I think it's all pretty teasy, but go ahead.
We mentioned Google. We just did a target that was, how will artificial intelligence interact with blockchain at Google in 2027? So we did this data, and Edward Reardon came up with some really, I didn't believe it when he presented it. He was presenting, and I was going, "Oh man, I don't believe that."
I
And,
love your team, by the way. They are the
oh,
sweetest
great. They're my brothers.
gentlemen. Yeah, I get total lovely.
So we came up with something blockbuster about what might happen to Google in the next 4 years, 3 years. And we thought it was a miss. We were like, oh man, some days were off. Like that was a tough queuing, and we didn't really, but our data got sent to someone high up, and they said, you guys got it. You're on. There's another team of remote viewers who are behind the scenes, who are supranational, above nation states, and it corroborated their data. So sometimes feedback comes privately.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. So I did in a couple of years ago, there was a fabulous storyteller, Seema Anand, who had spent 15 years on the Kama Sutra, which we all think is an erotic thing and porn, kind of like Hindu porn. It's not. But anyway, I do this segment with her. And one of the things she says, both in her, I think in her book, I don't recall exactly, but in the interview, in the conversation, is she doesn't believe that the Kama Sutra was written by a man, which I thought was fascinating. So I would love to know, in the same way that you queried Bitcoin, like, who really developed this thing? But you can't get the feedback now at this time. You can't get feedback other than a remote viewing session. I looked all over. Who would do this session? But it would be fascinating. That's one of them that would be fascinating to find out,
Well, one of the things I've learned, Kim, through future forecasting, okay, I did a remote viewing on Hitler.
I saw that. I saw that. I loved it.
Okay. Somebody got a hold of me through a third party. It said, Dick, that was a really good remote viewing. What you drew there, specifically the cemetery, we know where that is. We've seen it. You drew it exactly. You need to be careful. You have self-illuminated. You've become part of the priest class. You need to use this ability wisely.
I agree.
And so thus, this became my second mentor. I had one mentor who was Glenn Wheaton, who was a remote viewer for U.S. Army Special Forces in a secret program that still has not been disclosed, that taught me the skill of remote viewing. And then I have another mentor because of my remote viewing. Getting back to the Kama Sutra, information and technologies are doled out to humanity from a greater intelligence, from a control mechanism. So Bitcoin wasn't created by someone named Satoshi Nakamoto who came up with a clever idea. Bitcoin was rolled out to humanity as a next evolution of humanity to go to a digital system, a digital accounting system. It's so much more than Bitcoin. It's a triple ledger entry. If you want to go really deep into the,
why not? Why not?
Human beings were organized into nation states. It's allowed to appear organic, but it's directed by an administrative power. We're given
some leeway.
We're given nation states, like cultures and races are assembled. You're given a nationality, a flag, an anthem, a monetary system, a currency. So we gather around. But what it is that it's an accounting system. So you have a nation state, and within the nation state, you have counties where they count the proceeds of the human
activity,
human commerce. With technology being given to humanity, technology will now allow for that accounting system to be done on a blockchain with digitally. And part of that will be digital money. And that's why Bitcoin was introduced to humanity. It wasn't Hitomi. It wasn't Satoshi Nakamoto. I got Hitomi on my mind. I miss her.
Me too.
Anyway,
actually, I do too. Yeah.
She was
your student. Did you teach her? Were you her teacher?
I helped. Okay.
Mentor.
I gave her some training. She was trained by David Morehouse. David Morehouse is one of the great instructors of CRV. He was in the unit with Lynn and Paul and all the rest. It was David Morehouse that was responsible he was responsible in big part for remote viewing coming out because he wrote a book and he lost his pension. He paid dearly for that book. He just barely, like 2 years ago, got his pension back, but
Wow.
they really, he paid dearly. So,
I'm sorry. Wow.
Hitomi trained with, Morehouse, and then she came to Hawaii. She saw Hawaii Remote Viewers Guild, and she pretty much just came to our doorstep and said, "I'm here, teach me. I'm going to live in Hawaii." And so one of the other instructors at HRVG taught her. I taught her for a while. She vacuumed up any knowledge about.
She was incredible. What
She
a
trained
sweet
with
soul. Oh,
she trained with some Russians, and she did sessions for me that just blew my mind. She did a session on Cliff High in 2011 or 2012 that was just phenomenal. So yeah, Hitomi was really special. But I gave her some training. I wasn't her primary trainer. I don't
she
want to
was on your
claim.
team, though. She was on your team. She was remarkable. What a
Yeah.
soul. I'm sorry that you lost her.
Did
She
I?
was.
You want to? This will bring me to tears. This will bring you to
It's
tears.
okay.
Okay. Tommy passed away in Brazil about 2, 3 years ago. And I was deeply affected by that. And so I had written a song called Time to Go. And I was recording that for Hitomi, but I wasn't telling anybody. This wasn't in public, but I was secretly recording it. And I have a friend who plays mandolin on the mainland. And so we're recording this song. And when Hitomi disappeared and died, she was in all white. She's in a white dress. The great psychic Lan Vo contacted me. Her representative said, "Lan Vo needs to talk to you. Can you talk to her on Saturday?" I said, "Sure." Why is Lan Vo calling me? And so I got on with
I
Lan
have
Vo.
chills about this while you're talking. I have total chills all over.
Lan Vo said, "Dick, I need the woman who died. She came to me and she knows you're sad, and she wanted me to tell you that she loves you and it's okay. She's all right. It was time to go."
Oh my God.
I was
Oh my
just floored.
God.
Lan Vo is really good. So Lan Vo gave me Lan Vo said, "This woman in white came to me in a dream and said, 'Dick is hurting. I need you to tell him that I'm okay, that it's all right, and it's time to go.'" And she named the song that I was writing about it. It's like
Wow.
that nobody knew about.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my Hitomi story.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Lan Vo
I'm
is people will ask, so I'll say it's LAN,
VO.
last name VO, and she does readings in Hawaii. I heard about her from my teacher in the Special Forces remote viewing in the early 80s. They were all looking for natural psychics to try to learn from. And one of the natural psychics they contacted was Lan Vo. And the Green Berets went and had readings, and they were just all, whoa. Yeah. So
One of
the
the
uh
things I go ahead.
the
I-
the US military was, like, Lynn Buchanan very well. I mean,
Yeah, I
he
do.
was sergeant, in the military and all military bearing, but they're really far out people, they're really intensely spiritual. So the military was like scouring the civilian world for amazing psychics. Richard Ireland, Wingo Swan, Lon Vo, they were trying to gain knowledge from all of them secretly, and they were doing that. The untold story of remote viewing is really interesting. I don't we're only getting bits and pieces of it. I think if
Did
next time you interview Lynn, ask him that. Like, do we get the real full story? You go, no.
Well, actually, I was going to invite you to come on with Lynn the next time I do this. We do this. And I asked Lynn last night on the phone. I said, "Would you come on with Dick?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to." That's up to you.
I love Lynn.
That would be
I'd
so
love to do
cool.
I'd love to do a segment with him. I remember meeting him at the first conference. So when I became interested in remote viewing, Lynn Buchanan was one of the gods of remote. Like, I met Lynn Buchanan. Wow. So now I feel like I could speak to him on more of a,
Colleague.
I have some knowledge that I'd love to compare notes with him. Like, yeah.
But you know, he's a great artist too. He's an incredible artist. He paints. Oh my God.
I think all remote viewers, it should be required some art training. Too many of us draw stick figures.
Well, I'm a stick figure drawer.
Well, if
I haven't left the stick figure, people.
You can use YouTube, like how to draw a human face. Like there's a way to, like, okay, put the eyes here. This is the ratio, or how to draw perspective. Like there's something called a vanishing point. Like you have a point on the horizon and all the lines point to that, and then your perspective will be correct. Just little tricks like that you can learn on how to draw.
Because I notice you do faces really good too. I've watched.
Some of the best ones I've done, Kim, I do without thinking. Like I'll just let my hand do it and it will capture them perfectly without trying.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So back to, we'll finish the part if you would, we'll go back because you were talking about the administration. That's okay. And you said Hitomi, so I felt we should address Hitomi.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go back at all to the administration, or just to wrap that up, just basically you were laying it out that we get little bits and pieces of things at a time and everything is okay, and nation states and
humanity. The progression of humanity is probably not as organic as we would think. There is technology that exists. Keep your earbuds in. And
I got one of them.
It is doled out to us when we're ready. So I did a YouTube video years ago that was Bell Labs in 1960. They did a video where they had children learning on tablets. They had children in a classroom with computer. They had a woman in her house sitting with a TV screen and a credit card slot, and she was shopping. Like, I want this dress. Can you have it in a size 6 in green? Yes. Put your credit card in. She was like basically using Amazon. This was 1960. So all this stuff is rolled out piecemeal to humanity. Yeah, the knowledge. It's all there.
But you know what's shocking? You know what's shocking? Sorry to interrupt you. You know what's so shocking to me? Like, I agree with you on. I agree with you on that. And it's fascinating to watch the kind of like slowly but surely things are rolled out. But let's take somebody like Elon Musk. Here's Elon Musk, just as an example. He has this shirt, Occupy Mars. He's all excited. He's getting this whole thing about we're going to Mars and everything. So I was a little frisky one day on Twitter. And I said, you obviously haven't been cleared yet. You haven't been cleared yet. You have to ask them to up-level your clearance.
Did he answer you?
Wait, no. Then I said, we've been there, done that. You're talking about returning to Mars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ask them to up-level your clearance. I mean, if you guys could get to him, okay? If he, can you imagine he doesn't know about the grand solar minimum. He doesn't know what's really happening with the climate. I mean, you can have the most incredible person doing all this good stuff with a good, and then the basic detail, like they don't have it. Like, here's this thing about, you wouldn't expect the average person to have anything about Mars, but he's taking all these shipments to the, in and out of space, throwing up all these satellites and everything. How can he not know? How can he not know?
He knows. You don't get to be Elon Musk. You don't get to be a billionaire without being read into certain
And briefed. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely he is. So
So I was,
we remote viewed Elon Musk. And in my remote viewing, I saw it's just totally blind. I saw somebody being in a really nice house, being like taken up. I didn't know if it was out of their body, an out of body experience or an abduction, but somehow being taken up and given knowledge, like became enlightened. So had some inner. Elon Musk has probably been upgraded. You know,
well, he's
he's
about to get the Neuralink upgrade. That's what I'm worried about.
yeah. Okay,
I mean,
a year
honestly.
ago, I booked a retreat on the island of Lanai, which is a private island in Hawaii that's owned by Ellison.
Oh,
Ellison is
the,
one of the big billionaire tech guys, and
okay.
Elon Musk goes over there and hangs out with him. And my thought was, it's a really small island. I mean, it's there's no stoplights there. I was going to run into Elon Musk and have a conversation with him. I was convinced I was going to do that,
I
but then
want you to.
my reservation there was something wrong and I canceled it. But I was thinking, this is my remote viewing intuitive. I'm going to be there when Elon Musk is there, and I need to be ready to bump into him at dinner. And how can I draw him in, like without sounding crazy? I would love to talk to Elon Musk.
I really think it needs to happen. I really do. Because can you imagine being in his position right now, in your position right now, being him in his position right now? What's going to happen to all the solar stuff in a grand solar minimum? A. B. What happens when he finds out we've been to Mars? Okay. And are we really going back with him? And all that infrastructure, would it change anything for him to know? Maybe he just needs to know, and then that will inform him how to proceed.
We were having a little spat with Cliff High, because Cliff High had us remote view the backside of the moon, and it's our data that humans have been on the moon for quite a while. Like, we went there before Apollo, and Cliff didn't believe that. And there was he didn't want to believe our data. But yeah, we've been to the moon, we've been to Mars.
Yeah. The
there's a whole hidden level of technology above. There's a whole breakaway. I don't want to call it breakaway civilization. It's those who created us and who are running the place. UFOs have been around the whole time. There's a whole level above that we don't see.
I interviewed John Lear a few times some years ago and was in his office. I don't know if you know John. Do you know John?
Oh, I used to listen to him all the time.
Okay. Well, I saw over the whole, he had an entire wall with the untainted photograph of the moon. I saw the buildings. I saw infrastructure, etc. It was fascinating. Yeah. And he gave so many pieces of things that it didn't take rocket science to figure out that, humanity has been there.
Yeah.
Or whatever has been there. Some beings have been allowed to go there and do work.
Well,
I interviewed Harrison Schmitt. You know Harrison Schmitt?
He was one of the last astronauts to be on the moon.
Yes.
What did he have to say? I don't think I've heard that.
Well, this was I didn't ask him those questions. He seemed very, what is the word?
Reticent to talk about him.
Reticent, constricted.
Yeah,
he was in a deal, I think, with John and another gentleman to mine the moon. And at the time, they were setting off. NASA was sending probes to create more water on the moon, and it was using some type of explosive devices to do that. And I think I remember saying to him, How come we're sending explosions on the moon? And he got kind of upset with me, but I didn't know how to articulate it at the time. But basically, they were mining for water,
Yeah.
who knows? I know that there's a lot of mining going on, a huge amount. Helium, what is it, helium-3?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on the moon. And of course, Lynn Buchanan's group, when they're not teaching, that they're tasked by different agencies and stuff too. But there's a whole interesting other part of remote viewing too, which is one is going back into what was. One is going into what is in the now, which obviously moves quickly. And then there's out in the distant future, even though understanding our whole understanding of time is not what we think it is. But the thing is, it kind of threw me for a loop. What is his name? Greg Braden did a talk about how you really, I hope I'm not misarticulating this, but something to the extent that no matter what you remote view, you can change it. I want to know what you think about that. That it's so malleable because it's out in the future. It's like an X factor. It's up for grabs. He didn't use this language, but the meta message of his communication about that left me like, what is the public to think about your work and Lynn's work? And if it's so serious, all these agencies are tasking them, and you have this team that's looking into the future to inform people that are part of the membership and to protect them and also do interesting targets. What does that mean, the future? So you can come up with something, let's say about Google. It's out into the future, 2027.
Yeah. Okay, I'll.
How do we receive that?
This is a two-part answer, and I just wrote it down.
Sorry, I had a lot of complicated things.
Oh, we're having a great conversation. This is good because it's going so many directions at once.
I
love it. This is beautiful.
I love it too.
Okay, so I'm going to answer
whichever.
The ability to change the future, but before that, I want to talk about why we do the type of targets we do and why it's interesting to do those. The person that got a hold of me and helps us at future forecasting is someone who was involved at high levels of administration of the planet, who has knowledge about how the planet is administered. And he's out of that role now, but has an amazing storehouse of knowledge. He is a very kind, loving person who likes to help humanity, but knows that most people can't be helped. So
have you ever met him? Have you ever physically seen him?
Like I'm talking with you. Yeah, I've I know his family. I've talked to his family face to face. I've talked to him. I know where he lives. I know his address.
I'll be right over, Michael. Switzerland. I got a .ch going on. Go ahead.
So
be right over, Michael. Just send the plane. Okay, go ahead.
He tells me things. I've had like 600 hours of conversation with him, at least. But what he tells me is information that is published. So we'll be having a conversation and he'll pause and he'll go, Google this, look this up. And I'll find a website. He goes, okay, that's been published. I'll explain what that means. And then he'll tell me. There are certain things that he's bound by secrecy that he would never tell me.
Sure.
But if we discover those things via remote viewing, it's allowed. So an example would be the Hammurabi Code. What does that have to do with the administration of humanity throughout the ages? The fact that the world, this planet, is owned by someone. Someone owns the land. And what is allowed is a commercial enterprise, businesses on the land. And so that story goes back to Hammurabi. What the administration of the earth goes back to that time, to that stone. So we remote view that. What's going to happen in the future? Well, we remote view what's happening at Google in 2027. That's hard for me to 2027, man.
That's all
That's like
right. I don't. I
I'm
listen. I would be
I'm
forgetting it too if I remote viewed what you did.
I'm getting yeah,
I'm
I'm
trying
getting
to forget it now.
no, it's just I'm getting old. I'm still like 2012 seems like way in the future to me still. But anyway, uh information is allowed to come out through remote viewing because there's plausible deniability. Well,
Right.
someone didn't tell us, someone on the inside didn't tell us, we got it psychically, and it can be discounted. Well, these remote viewers are crazy, they make stuff up, you know. So that's one way to get information to people if they have the eyes to see and the ears to
Here's to
hear.
here.
Okay, can you change things by remote viewing? We've done some experiments on that. There's something called the observer's effect, where if you just look
Yeah,
at
that's
something,
the quantum, right? Just
yeah.
influencing it through the quantum. Explain that to people.
Oh man, I don't have the
Can you? I can
theoretical
do it. And
physics.
let
No.
me see. Can I
Okay, you
try
do it. I'll
just
let
very
you do it.
quickly? I'm going to do the rough and rugged version.
Okay.
Basically, the quantum physicists are saying that by virtue of observing something, but the way in which you're observing something, you're actually changing it by your very observation energetically in the quantum field. That's my understanding. You tell me if I
But
ruined it.
no, that's right. But my question would be, how much are you changing it when you
By observing it?
well, do you think a remote viewer can go to some place and go, by magical using your
No, I didn't even ask that question. I think I
but
confused you with what I meant about.
oh no, no, no.
I meant about the future. Can you, if you remote let's say you remote viewed Google, just to clarify, you remote viewed Google 2027. Okay, you're going to come out at the beginning, whatever, in January, and you're going to relay that to the public, the whole team, what you all got. So the question is that you got that. And even though you have a history of being accurate, like frighteningly accurate, about so many things you remote view, can we, the public, with that knowledge in the now, change that thing that you just remote viewed about Google in the future? In case it's bad. I'm just giving you an example.
Well,
in your estimation,
what does it take to change that? Is it a matter of changing attitudes, or do you have to take physical action, or do you have to change the
who knows what's going
mindset
to
of an
happen?
entire population? We're dealing with administrators that they have unlimited resources, unlimited wealth, and they know how to do magic. They can control populations by putting thoughts and putting things into
Memes.
consciousness. They use
Yeah.
television. They tell a
Yes.
vision to you. So we've done some experiments on that. Like we had one called A Message to the Past. And I tried some, it reminds me, I need to publish this out. I remote viewed Napoleon, and I had a real good session on him, as good as I did on Maria Orsic. That was about
Wow.
4 months ago. But in the session, I didn't know who it was. I was double blind. I saw a death mask. And I went, man, I saw it really good. That's a death mask. This is somebody in the past that they made a death mask of.
What
And
does that mean? What does that mean? A death mask.
when someone's dies, they put plaster over their face.
Oh, okay.
They take a
Okay.
mold and then
I've seen those. All right. I know. Now I know what you mean. I was like, what is he talking about? Okay.
So they had a death mask of this guy, and I knew he wanted to be like a emperor. I thought it was some Roman guy, but it was Napoleon. So, okay, now we're going to get into the really woo-woo. And I haven't published this yet, and I will publish it. I was supposed to do it by Christmas, and I got busy. I haven't done it yet. So here I am, I'm remote viewing, and I see this guy, and he's on a horse charge. He's got a flag. He likes cannon. He's in charge of battles, and he dies, and they have a death mask of him. And so I go, I'm I know I've got good target contact on this one. So before I got feedback, I said, I'm going to try to put a message in the death mask. I'm going to try to write something in the death mask. And so I wrote down, we have a little probing icon called a Nemo.
Let's see. You better tell us what it is.
I'll draw it.
There can be no secrets from us. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I need it.
Okay.
So what I was doing was I was going to attempt to put something in the death mask. All right. So let me draw
There's a
this.
probe when you need it.
Yeah, that right there is called Nemo.
Okay.
And that's a neuro-linguistic probing tool. If you ask me to remember something like, what did my first car look like? My eyes would go up and to the left to remember. And if you ask me, what did my mom's voice, you ask me to recall my mother, I would go down to recall the kinesthetic of that. We use that as a probing tool. Anyway, that's a very distinctive thing.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to put that in Napoleon's death mask, and also the word
You lost?
ham, H-A-M, ham.
Okay. Okay.
That's an insight. That's something that I published as an entrainment in 2009, the term ham. And so I did my thing, and I'm not going to say how I did it, but I went and looked at, after I got feedback, if you look at the picture of Napoleon's death mask, you can sort of see that radial.
Oh my God.
And you can see the word ham. I'll publish that out. We'll do a segment on
That
that.
is phenomenal. That's fascinating.
So let me get to the theory behind that. Remote viewing is generally regarded as a passive activity. Okay. If I go back to Napoleon in 1802 and I bring back valid data about Napoleon, information has to move. Information moves from one point in consciousness, in reality, to, I'm sitting here in Makiki, Hawaii, in my condo, in a dark room, addressing a target ID, and my consciousness goes somewhere and gets valid data about Napoleon with his cannon and his death mask. Information has to move to get to me. Information moves. So if it can move from 1802 to 2023 from France or Italy or wherever he was fighting his battles in Russia to Makiki, information moves. Can information move from me to that? Can I place information in that time? Is there some way I can do something to affect that target that would show up in the here and now, that would be
Verifiable?
unique enough and verifiable? So I used that little icon that I don't think they
Mhm.
ever used in his time, and the word HAM. And so I'm going to publish that pretty soon. That's the kind of stuff okay. You really, there are
Are you sure?
some,
I have a quick one. Before you go on to the next thing, I have one question here. It's Columbo. Hopefully, I'm more put together than Columbo. But anyway, you say information moves. I get that at the level of consciousness.
Yeah.
But in your practice, you in your consciousness move to that location, space and time, and event. That event space, right?
That's
captured somewhere, whether we call it the Akashic Records or whatever.
Yeah.
What do we call this?
Well,
Nothing goes away.
I call it a greater field of consciousness. Okay. If I go,
Somebody's taking videos of everything.
if I go like this, that's an event that has a robust electromagnetic signature. I do that again, that's another event. Those exist. those are still happening back in time. So if you move your awareness just back to when that happened, it's still happening. So I believe remote viewing is in essence time travel. And the reason I believe that is because we've done enough. Some say, well, you're just remote viewing the feedback, right? You're just getting what someone's going to tell you about the target, or you're remote viewing what the tasker knows. You're going into the tasker's consciousness and getting what they know. But I've seen many, 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 many instances of remote viewing where the remote viewer gets data that the tasker didn't know, and that is not part of the tasking. So I believe you're getting it from the source. So the question is, can you go affect that source with your consciousness? We think so, but the observer's effect is so small. You just have so little gain. I know some remote viewers that were remote viewing a famous tragedy, a famous mass death event that's part of history. And someone died, a little girl died in that event. So the remote viewers went and they found that little girl, and they know that in the confusion of the event, she was running with some people and she turned right and became trapped. If she would have turned left, she would have gotten out. So what they're attempting to do was to nudge her to go left so that she would survive the event and not be on the casualty list. And what does that mean? Okay, how would you do that? How can you, as a remote viewer, go there and communicate, go left? It's your
Isn't there a disruption in the flow of events of one's karmic
the
path?
the paradox, yeah.
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 I mean, it seems like it
What
would be like crossing the Rubicon of from the
yeah,
profane to the sacred, but interfering with the sacred of one's
yeah.
trajectory of a life.
I know someone that's writing a book about that, a novel. That's very interesting. Like, what if you could, just by some little, just causing some small little event that saved someone's life?
I have an idea for both of us right now. Here's what's
Yeah,
going to happen. You and I are going to go back and talk with Nikola Tesla, the real deal. We're going to
and get
tell
the
him to shut his mouth to the guy he was talking to who wants to
yeah,
meter all of the energy. Keep it quiet. Let him have his deal, and he does his thing on the side as a parallel path. Boom.
yeah. There you go. That would change humanity. But would it be allowed by the greater power? And
Well, the
I
whole
don't
point
mean
is not to make it.
God is
Yeah.
the greater power. I
No,
mean
no, no. The earth power. The earth power. That kind of a thing. It's kind of like open sourcing my company, the Rainmaking company. I helped inventors and pioneers help bring their work to the world. My background's in packaging and communication and strategic planning for people that have a lot to lose if they don't get it right, if
yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
And so typically people don't do a parallel path, and they go straight in and they go right to the patent office and all that. And then a lot of them don't make it. I mean, there was a guy I interviewed, Joseph Longo, who was called the king of garbage. He had a plasma generator that could get rid of anything, plutonium, this, that, and the other. And
wow.
after I interviewed him, he was going to go with a three-letter agency. They wanted him to do a deal with them. I said, please don't do this.
It'll
Please
be
just.
buried forever. They'll say, "Yeah, give us that," and then they use it, and you never see it again.
Yeah, well, he ended up doing a deal with them, and he's no longer with us. But the point
Ah,
of the matter is, by the time a pioneer gets to the deal with people, a lot of times they don't care anymore. They've risked everything. They've lost friends, family,
yeah,
love, children, money, credit, everything. They'll just go. They've had heart attacks. They've had whatever. So this is very chronic, what happens. But the thing is, of the few people of the people in history that I would love to go back with you and have a talk with Nikola Tesla, I would like to manage Nikola Tesla personally. I'd like to manage what couldn't be managed because he didn't have the right people around him.
We remote viewed him. Edward Reardon.
I saw that
really
too. That
good
was
data.
beautiful.
I didn't get very good data on Nicholas. I was so, when I got the feedback on that, I was like, oh, I didn't really get it.
But see, that's what's so refreshing about you. You know,
sometimes it doesn't work. You know, I have this brilliant Napoleon and brilliant Maria Orsic, and then Nikola Tesla.
You had a brilliant Hitler too, let me tell you, that one.
Yeah, that one was, I never knew who that was. I never knew.
I know.
And when I got the feedback, I was like, oh my God. And I went back and looked at all my data and went, oh, I never recognized him. But Nikola Tesla is somebody I would really love to have remote viewed well. And I didn't get much. I had some days it just doesn't, I'm not a machine. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yes. And I love that about you. It's very refreshing. I was a former tournament tennis player for 13 years. And I was a really good tournament tennis player at the level that you are a remote viewer. And I will tell you something. There are days that I would go out there. I just wanted to break rackets. I played like hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are days where you just have that. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how competent you are. It doesn't matter how skilled and developed you are. You're going to go out and you're going to have those F days. They're just F days where you're off the mark, period.
Well, somebody just asked me, what does it take to become a remote viewer? And I said, stubbornness, tenacity. I did so many targets, so many nights at Hawaii Remote Viewers Guild where I'd get a hit and I would be walking on air like I am magical. But for every one of those, there was a half dozen where I would slink away, not want to talk to anybody. You know, they'd give us the feedback and I'd go, and just feel despondent. So it's just a matter of do it again, try it again, get a little better. And you're always going to have some totally embarrassing, glorious misses where you think you're really smart. And you just don't get it. So I had a day like that on when they said it was Tesla, I was like, why didn't I do better? But yeah, I'd love to talk to that guy. That's an interesting story, Tesla. I think Tesla was somehow involved.
He wasn't from here. He wasn't from here at all. He wasn't from this planet, this guy. He wasn't from here. I can't not have been, right?
Well, the person that we communicate with at Future Forecasting, I don't know if he's totally from this planet. I mean, he's definitely, there are people that get selected at a young age and they get an education that we don't get. They're told they're upgraded and they have knowledge.
You don't think you're upgraded, man? You're very upgraded, you. Do you think everybody may have the capacity to remote view, but 9 out of 10 people will never become the remote viewer that you are, will never reach the level that you are. 8 out of 10, sorry about that, public, but because it requires the initiation and the continuous practice. And let me tell you, I took a remote viewing class for 5 days. Not by Lynn, it was by, I forgot her first name. Her last name was Smith.
Lori?
Yeah. This was before I went to live in Europe. And the reality is that while I got some hits and I was very excited and everything, it is a very concentrated, focused, it's an isolating thing. The practice is not like you're getting these big kudos. You could go hours and hours and hours, focused and drawing in and everything. You have to have a tremendous spirit, okay, and a dedication to do this again and again and again in practice without applause.
Here, I'll admit to something that
am I right or am I wrong?
You're right. I was the weekend anchor man at KITV, the ABC affiliate in Honolulu. And being the weekend anchor man at that time, was for me a pretty easy job. Like you'd go in about 2:30 in the afternoon. I'd do the 6 o'clock news and the 5 o'clock news and the 10 o'clock news. So you go in, you get a little briefing. This was really before the internet. The internet was fledgling at that point. And then you'd see who was working on what. I'd write some teases like coming up tonight at 10, a big fire in Honolulu, details at 10. It doesn't take long to write that. I'd rewrite some of the intros. And then in the evening, I'd help write some of the national news and rework some of the stuff. But the workload wasn't that intense with only 2 newscasts. So I would have a few hours of downtime. I would sneak back into a quiet office and work remote viewing targets while I at work. And I remember being at like on Mars or back in time, and over the intercom, Dick Allgire, come to the newsroom. Dick Allgire. Whoa, whoa. Like, where were you? I said, oh, I was in the other office. I was like, we need you to cut a tease on the murder. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
I was just seeing. One time
That's
I was
wild.
working a target.
You left Mars to go to the station manager or to cut a commercial or go to do
One
news.
time I was in my
Oh
office.
my God.
One time I was in my office. I was working a blind target. And I went to the ERV portion where I was in my chair like this. And I was going out into that near sleep. And all of a sudden I was in the deep blue ocean on a sunny day, and a single engine airplane went and plowed into the ocean right in front of me. And
Oh my God.
it was
Oh my
as
God.
real as full color experiential reality, like the most vivid dream you ever had.
Did you scream?
And
Did you scream?
Yes, wow. And I jumped out of the chair and I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I go, okay, I'm in my office. I was remote viewing, man, I was out. And so I went, what the hell was that target? And I sketched it and I went, that was intense. That was remote viewing is not always like that. Very often when I remote view, it's dim, blurry. It's just a little tiny, faint 1 second flash. Sometimes it plays as a flickering little movie. This time it was full on. I see the whole thing. And so, wow, I drew this plane slamming into the ocean. And I submitted the target, and I got feedback a few days later, and it was U.S. Coast Guard Hawaii next rescue event, near future. So they were looking at what would be the next time the Coast Guard would have a newsworthy rescue
Oh my
event.
God.
Okay. So a week after that, I'm on live TV. I'm on the news. I'm on the set. I got my IFBN, got my makeup on and my necktie, and I got my script, listen, still ahead. The mayor says the new, sewer fee is too high or whatever. And they come out and they hand me they go, we have breaking news. They hand me a script. So they go. And I go, well, the U.S. Coast Guard is on the scene of a rescue event 4 miles northeast of the island of Oahu. A Cessna airplane has just crashed into the ocean.
Oh my God.
And I realized I'd remote view that. And I'm on live TV, right? And this realization hits me while I'm trying to ad lib the story. And I'm thinking, what a weird life I have. No one would ever believe this, that
Nobody would believe it. And
I
you do have a
saw
weird
this.
life. It's very interesting, though.
And I have to be on live TV and maintain as the straight newscaster going out, So that was one of the more bizarre experiences of my newscasting remote view. See, I lived a double life because I was this credible. You couldn't admit to being a remote viewer back then. People think you were crazy.
True.
So
wow.
We were doing work for the Honolulu Police Department missing person. We had a detective that we had an association with. We did one missing persons case that we did really well. And he had us meet with the mother of this guy that had disappeared while hiking. And we gave her the data. And she was so thankful. She said, I finally have closure. I know what happened to my son. I believe you. And the detective helped us do that. But I went to a press conference once and he was there and he looked at me and he went like, don't pretend you know me. Don't talk about remote viewing in this setting, because he didn't want it publicly known that they were relying on remote. Lynn knows all about that because Lynn does that a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
He
Lynn,
shared that a lot. Yep.
yeah,
That
yeah.
goes
He
on
did a
all the
lot of
time,
work.
even today, right? Even
Yeah,
today goes on.
yeah. But
I want to
you
go ahead.
you can't do targets like that all the time. It would
No,
it would it
break
would
you.
mess with your head. Yeah. Those are
How do you
those are hard to get
decompress?
feedback. Yeah.
Oh, how do you decompress? When you go into a target, let's just say, how do you decompress from your events? There's a protocol, I guess, for decompressing from going to the target.
Yeah, I'll show
And
you. I'm off camera for a minute. I'll show you
I
how.
think you're gonna play. I think you're gonna play guitar, is what I think.
Yes, I'm going to pull out for those of you who
I love it when you play. Like, at
like
the end of your
right.
thing, and we got the Dick Allgire guitar session at the end to wrap the thing. Here we go.
That's a Martin D41, and I I play slap key guitar on my couch. I play guitar and that calms me down. Remote viewing is inherently destabilizing. The difficult ones for me are missing persons or future events. There was a shooting at the Garlic Festival in California 2 years ago, and I had seen that one. I saw the tents and the signs. I saw the people running for their lives, and it was like a little colored dream I had for like 5 seconds. I go, wow, there's tents and booths, and it's some event like a state fair, and something bad happened. And the people are just frantic. And I drew that and I put it in, forgot about it. And I got up one morning, a few weeks later, and I saw the news reports of the shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. And it was those tents. And I rushed to my computer and I looked at it. And I was just there sobbing. I was just overcome. Um, it's real eerie. It's kind of spooky. It's
There is a spooky part of this for sure, particularly when it's future oriented like that.
Yeah. My wife she's really, I have a wonderful wife. She's so cool.
Mimi,
But
Mimi is her name.
yeah,
Mimi.
Mimi. Yeah,
Okay.
she's Korean. You want to hear a really great romantic story?
Please, I love it. Let's hear it. Bring it on.
I was never associated that much with military. I was a Grateful Dead head. I was more of a hippie in the 70s. So
Sugar
like
Magnolia.
you got that right. I never was in the military and was just a different mindset. And now I have great respect for them because I worked with a special forces guys and all, like Lynn, even though they're very far out. So I was on the news, and we used to go to this bar in Honolulu. This would be 1989, 90. After the Friday news, we'd go have a few drinks. And we were at this bar, the news team, and this very clean cut young man came up and bought us a round of drinks and introduced himself. He goes, I'm Captain Muller. And he was a Marine and officer and a gentleman, really nice guy. So we became friends with him, just randomly meeting at this bar. And he threw a party and some of us went, and then we would go to dinner, and we kind of became friends. So he said, I'm going to go to this 4 a.m. bar that's owned by Tom Selleck. And I said, I'm tired. I'm going home. And he called me later and said, I met this Korean woman. She's just fabulous. I'd like you to have dinner. I'd like you to meet her. So I'll jump to the punchline. He married this Korean woman and asked me to be the best man. And I said, well, okay, sure. So I got a tuxedo. I put it on. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and I had to leave the Super Bowl. I'm going, man, I really would rather watch the Super Bowl than be in a tuxedo and go to a wedding. So I go there, and his bride's sister, I go, this is Mimi. And I went, oh. And I'm sitting there in the ceremony in a tuxedo. He's in his dress uniform. She's in a wedding dress, and Mimi's on the other side in a pink dress. And I had a vision of me marrying Mimi and him being the best man and the wife being, I could see that. And I shook it off. This was before I was ever exposed to remote viewing, but I said, wow,
Fascinating.
I'm I'm not going to marry a Korean woman, and I'm a bachelor. I don't want to get married. And why am I thinking this? And the ceremony ended, and we were walking arm in arm up the aisle. And when she touched me, I knew. I go, this is my
Isn't
soulmate.
that, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And
That's
so
a
that came
beautiful
true.
story.
That vision came true, and I married her, and I've been happily ever after. She's
How
wonderful.
long ago was that?
That was 1992.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're making Guinness records book. The Guinness. You're in Guinness.
Yeah.
These
Well,
days, you're in Guinness for that.
okay, back to remote viewing.
That's a great story.
She
But I want to say one thing on
she
that.
sees,
I have to give one comment
yeah.
before you go to the next thing about the vision that popped in your head about Mimi and you. Maybe didn't come from you. You go, I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking that. No, it was given to you, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah,
All
I
right, go
agree.
ahead.
So
I
she
put in my
sees
2
me
cents.
remote view, and I go in my room, she's out watching Korean dramas or something, and I come stumbling out after 2 hours, and I'm still a little dazed, and I'll be talking to her. She goes, "You're not all the way back yet, are you?" I go, "Oh, yeah, yeah." She says, "What was it?" I go, "I don't know." And so sometimes I show her my work. I'm still under blind protocol. So I go, "Look, I saw this, this, and this. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it is, but I saw people doing this." And then a week later, I'll get the feedback and I'll go, "Hey, Mimi, remember I told you that target? Come look." And she gives me a high five. But
That's
one
great.
time I remote viewed the Ron Brown plane crash,
Oh,
and I saw a plane hit a mountain crash, and I finished and I put my paper together, and I went down and I laid down on the bed next to Mimi, and she was watching TV. I was just sitting there, and I started sobbing. I went, "They all died. They all died." And she goes, "Oh, you're still there?" I said, "Yeah, there was a plane crash." So she's very supportive
understanding, it
of
sounds
me.
like.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
understand.
important. That's really important. Years ago, I did an interview with Trevor James Constable, who used to do weather engineering, using some of Rudolf Steiner's work and others with the orgone. Okay, he would pull in. He would literally make it rain. And one of the things I've noticed, and I think you have a real blessing here, because a lot of the spouses of pioneers, I should say male pioneers, because that's a lot of who
Yeah,
I've assisted, have not been supportive of their work, and it impacted their whole lives. They
yeah,
suffered their
yeah.
whole lives. I think it's such a blessing that you and Mimi found each other. Honestly, huge,
Oh,
huge
oh,
contribution.
for sure, for sure. So I have friends that if I told them, yeah, the government has programs that can control the weather, they go, "Oh no, they won't even consider the idea." But they're
All
still
you got
my
to do is show them
friends.
the patents. They're easy to show the patents. Here, just look at the
They
patents.
won't,
They're 50
they
years
don't
old.
want to, they don't want to
They don't
see
want to
it.
know.
They won't
I
believe
know.
it.
Yeah,
Aren't you know all these things. You must
I
have
do.
people you come in contact with that are friends and family that you can't talk about this
None of
with.
my
You can't.
family accepts anything I've ever covered on It's Rainmaking Time,
Mm,
including It's Rainmaking Time. And they live in their own bandwidth and their own bubble
yeah,
of comfort, and I have to respect that. My older sister is much more receptive. My parents are gone. My mother believed stuff. My dad was comme ci comme ça, but um, it's the kind of thing when information comes to you and you get evidence of something. It doesn't mean everybody wants to know, will know, or should know. There are a lot of people who can't handle it.
well, here I am, mainstream news guy, that I had to be. I was in a lane that I had to stay in that lane. When you're working for the ABC affiliate, and I did hits on CNN, CBS, and you've got to behave, and you've got to, the parameters, what the boundaries are. You well know when you're a mainstream newscaster. And there came a time in 2012 when I was doing a live broadcast when Obama came to Hawaii, and I was out there in Air Force One, and Obama peeled off and started shaking hands with the military people there. And the producer said in my ear, keep talking, this is great. And I had about 2 minutes worth of material, like where Obama was coming, what events he'd be with, when last time, where he's staying, when Michelle and the kids were coming. So I had film material. Well, I went through all that, and here he is over shaking hands. So you say, well, he's shaking hands, and they told me keep talking, and I'd run out of stuff to say, and there's nobody to interview and nothing to interact. And I knew things by then about Obama that I couldn't say on TV. And those started flashing in my head. And I was like, going, man, I don't know how much longer I can do that. So here I am with a worldview. And because of my remote viewing, I start getting conversations with someone who's telling me things like, Dick, we didn't create this place. Someone else created it, and they administer the earth, and there's an authority. This is who runs it. And do you know that your birth certificate is a certificate of ownership, and there's a prepaid account at the Bank for International
Stock
Settlements.
Exchange, right?
Yeah, and you can look up your
Birth
social
certificate
security number
social.
and see all the liens that are against the value of your body, of your soul that
It's
someone
incredible.
claims. And what do I do with that? And by the way, you can't really talk about this. And but here, remote view this, and we'll put this out. So you have your audience, and we have our audience. There are people that want to know about this, that will delve into this and look at the evidence. And so we talk to them. And that's what we do at Future Forecasting Group, is people that realize we're in a system, we don't really have much control over it, but if you have information, you can thrive within the system. So you can navigate your own life. And so we don't give financial advice, but we do give information that help people hopefully thrive better. And it's just downright fascinating to learn.
It's fascinating, but also I think that one of the why it's so important what you're doing is that people have an opportunity to be in front of some things if they're receptive to being in front of it versus behind it after it's happened. And I'd say a great deal of what you cover that's relevant to life today, that is actionable, is if people are receptive and they're really listening carefully to what the entire team is doing, you will be called to make very different kind of decisions, because this is going to inform you. Maybe you don't go right, but you go left after knowing this piece of what was just come through. Maybe during this time you will stay out of the city because these events are going to happen. Now and I know you can't talk about it here, but when people get to Future Forecasting Group, they can watch it. But there is a major event, correct? There's a major, I don't remember if it was geological or whatever. There's a major, I don't know if it's catastrophic event. Explosive event.
Kinetic.
Okay?
There's some kinetic
It's a kinetic event. It's a serious event. I can't remember if it was 2024 or 2025. Sorry about that. But so for stuff like that, one can ask oneself, where do I need to be? Am I in the right place? Not that one is going to run and et cetera, but what do I need to do to prepare to have the best outcome no matter what? I mean, if it's your time, you're going, right?
Yeah.
But if there's something that you can do to sustain yourself and live through it, you'll do what you can. And that's what I like about it. There's real world stuff. It's not playtime over at your site. Let me tell you.
We try to avoid fear porn.
I agree.
And I'll particularly try to avoid telling people what they should do, like
Right.
listen
I
to my
love
advice.
that.
Like, don't listen to my advice.
Right.
I'm just a
Right. Yeah.
eccentric old former newscaster uh, who plays
But you
guitar.
still drop the data. But hold on, Dick. You still will reveal and transmit the data, you and your team. But then us who are receiving it are left with what to do.
Yeah.
And we have to sit with it and look and ask,
So,
what is the call here?
so we just
Right?
did this target that was artificial intelligence, blockchain, and Google. And I was thinking we didn't have a very good session. I thought, well, that's one of our misses. It's a hard target. It's a really hard target to remote view. And I'd like to, that would be a great topic. People would love to hear me discuss that with Lynn Buchanan. Like, Lynn, how would you task that? Because artificial intelligence, where does it exist? What is it? Where is it? There's no place you can go to see artificial intelligence. On computer motherboards. Blockchain, the same thing. What is blockchain? Where does it exist? What is Google? Is Google a search engine? Is it a corporation? Is it a store of vast amounts of information? Is it YouTube? You know, what is Google? So we're given this tasking that's blockchain, AI, and Google. And we're giving the presentation, and Edward Reardon says, one of them's not going to make it. One of them won't be here at the time frame I'm remote viewing it. And I'm listening to him in the debriefing, and I'm going, AI is still going to be here. We're not stopping AI. And blockchain
I have a sense of something, though. I want to respond to it when you're done.
Blockchain is not going away because it's going to be the accounting of the new civilization. That leaves, if one of those things is going away, that leaves, is Google going away?
Do you happen to know, you broke the news about Theta, okay? And Lenfo, but basically.
We did a blind remote viewing on Theta.
Right.
And
it's huge.
I lit up. I went, oh my God, I saw full color people looking at screens, but not screens. They were looking at total immersion video, like virtual reality video.
Maybe holographic for all we know.
Yeah. And I go, this one's based on the remote viewing. I bought a ton of Theta at like 12 cents or something.
Yeah, and it's still very inexpensive now.
In 2021, I had made a lot. I didn't cash it out, but I'll get another chance. I just had a conversation 3 days ago with a gentleman that is running a Theta node that we're going to put it out for people to stake your Theta, Theta fuel too, Theta and Theta fuel. I still think this is going to be a good one. Well,
look at what they're building. They're building the most remarkable infrastructure. They are building, I mean, do you know this already? They're building the transformation of the internet via video, audio, streaming into the blockchain so that it's simpler, easier, faster, less expensive. Boom. It's new infrastructure. That's why Samsung's in it, Google's in it, YouTube's in it, this one's in it, that one's in it. It's the new infrastructure for entertainment, video, audio, documentaries, the whole caboodle.
I just got a list of the corporations that are running Theta nodes.
Huge.
And big ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if, I'm just theoretical here, what if Google ceased to be, and Google wasn't running YouTube, and all the YouTube infrastructure had to go somewhere else, and it went to Theta? How big
That's
would
what
that
I'm
be?
saying. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling they're going to integrate whatever it is, and it won't be what we thought it was. It'll be this new thing.
Yep. You got it.
Am I on?
Got it. Yeah, we're on the same page. I can't really give it
It's
all
huge.
away.
It's so big. No, no, no. I have chills about it. Look, everybody, just go in the future forecasting group and join. Okay,
So you have some cryptos. You're into
I
cryptos.
do. I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I've benefited greatly from your sessions and the guidance and my own prayers and meditations about it.
When I did the Hitler thing many years ago, and the gentleman got a hold of me because of that, he told me, Dick, you have a skill, and throughout history, people with this skill have not needed to worry about money, creature comforts, food. They always have the best, so they're free to pursue this talent that they have. He said, what you need to know is that we're in the transition to a new financial system. If you learn about cryptocurrency, you'll attain generational wealth. This is your opportunity to never have to worry about money or anybody in your family. So that's all he needed to tell me. And I at that point, I didn't know anything about cryptos. And I went and learned. And I've done pretty well in cryptos. And we're gonna do really Theta's gonna be big. Yeah.
You know, it's scary for a lot of people. I think about the people over a certain age getting into Bitcoin, crypto, the whole bit, and how foreign the interface is, how foreign the
Well,
everything is. I consider myself fairly astute, and I want to tell you, I hired a Sherpa to help me navigate inside, because it's so easy to not know what you're doing unless you really learn it.
Yeah. It's not just cryptos. It's the whole infrastructure of society.
Exactly.
You're going to have a digital ID. You're only going to be allowed to pay for things with your phone. They're phasing cash out now. There are people our age that are, well, I'm never going to give up cash. But young people have no problem they don't use cash. The young.
I mean, this has been going on for years all over the world, right? They've been doing this slowly.
China, they don't use it. Yeah. Daz Smith says he hasn't used cash since before COVID. Not £1.
I have a question to you, and I don't know if you're okay to answer it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you ever have a concern that you will be taken advantage of in the times to come when you have to have a digital ID and you report something on your private membership? And even though it's private, it's not private, okay? I mean, you know what I'm saying. It is to the people who are paying for it, but anybody can go in there and say, well, you know, what is Dick doing with the team? And, oh, he's talking about someone. Tell him to shut up or we're turning off his digital ID. What's going to happen with you in the future? Do you ever concern yourself about it? Honestly.
We just found out we have an LLC in a state that is not Hawaii, because the taxation in Hawaii is just outrageous. So we have an LLC. There are new regulations coming.
But they're not out yet, by the way. They're not out yet physically they're not out yet. I've called and called, by the way, about that.
But it's coming.
It's coming.
Where you're not going to be allowed to have a secret LLC in another, you're going to have to be compliant. We found that there are companies.
A secret or wait. Do you mean, I want to go back just 1 second, just for the public. I would imagine your LLC was about being in a more optimal tax location. That's why people go to Wyoming or Delaware or Texas or Florida, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Also, maybe I didn't want them getting into my private business with my name being associated with it.
Understood. Okay.
So in the past, you could hire what they call registered agents.
A registered agent, right?
You have a registered agent, and they make the LLC for you, and they have a mailing address like 212 Front Street, Fake Lane, zip code 10213. whatever, and they'll do your mail for you and forward it to you. That's not allowed anymore. You can't do banking with that. We had a situation where we couldn't pay our bills. I have a future forecasting. We put up so much 4K videos just to host the video costs me a lot of money. The Zoom accounts,
Yes, I
there
know.
are overhead things. We found we couldn't pay that through that company. So what we had to do was come out into the open, where in that state, we have to rent a real office, have an employee on a payroll and pay payroll taxes, and have a residence. All that's required. There are people in other countries that are doing tax-free things as LLCs in the US, and they're gonna. We contacted an attorney who represents like 5,000 clients, and the attorney just went, "Oh my God, we're screwed." We decided
Yeah.
that we would become totally compliant. So
Yeah.
I'm not about, as for,
Are you closing these companies? Is that what being compliant is, or you're going to have to hire people in wherever jurisdictions you have, or it's none of our business? But I'm just saying to you, it's something like that is going to have to happen, or you're just operating out of Hawaii.
well, part of my thing is in Hawaii. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have, but I, I never did any of that. When I married Mimi in
Yeah.
1992,
Yeah.
I, I couldn't even balance my checkbook. She married
Let's hear it
me.
for Mimi.
She said, "Yobo," which is honey in Korean. She says, "Yobo, give me your check." And I said, "Pardon me?" She says, "Give me your paycheck." I said, I don't, why? She said, "Well, it's a Korean custom that the woman handles all the finances. So I'll handle the finances and I'll give you an allowance." And I said, "That's not an American custom." And she said, "Do you want to fight already?" And I said, "No." She said, "Give me your paycheck." So I gave her my paycheck and I handed all the finances over to her with some trepidation. It was the best thing I ever did. I don't use an ATM. I never balanced a bank account. I never paid any bills. And so suddenly I'm thrust into running future forecasting and making it compliant. There was quite a learning curve for me, but we're totally compliant. We are totally, I, I am in a position where I can't have anything that could come back and bite me.
By the way, me neither. I'm with you on that, and that's why I made all these calls,
Yeah.
and more to
So,
come, and more to come.
okay, in a bigger,
Yeah.
that's on the business regulation side.
Yeah.
I think what you were going to was more, um, is there forbidden knowledge that I would think better of giving? Yes, there is knowledge that we can only give in a private setting.
Yeah.
Um, I could, I could blow up YouTube. I could go on and do 10 segments on YouTube that would get me so viral, but it would be the last videos I ever did.
Exactly. Exactly.
So why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
And there is,
I mean, are you
I
concerned
hate
about
to,
you in the future? You and Mimi, your well-being and your ability to continue, your sustainability. Sorry to use that word, but it's overused a lot. But
okay,
do you have
well,
some worry? Because obviously you are being watched. No kidding. You are being watched. All of the major
I don't
remote
hide
viewers are
any.
watched. No, not that what I'm saying is I don't mean it from a point of view of hiding. I just mean, you get into some unusual areas to be able to go in and know what's happened, like with a Google and where
Well,
things are going. It's a big
well,
deal.
one of the reasons we have future forecasting groups set up is to protect the viewers, is to allow us to work targets in a safe environment. So
Yeah,
we don't just get targets off the internet. We don't just get targets that somebody says, "Hey, remote view this," because it usually turns out to be my cat's missing, my wife
of
lost her
course.
diamond ring,
You need
is my
someone
husband
who's doing
having
mindful stuff.
yeah, okay. And we have someone protecting us. So we were offered a lot of money to do a target about somebody. This was, see, I don't know. I don't select the targets. I'm kept in the dark. It's got to be, the viewers have to be blind. So we have an infrastructure. We have an organization that selects targets for us. And so I was told about a year ago, over a year ago, like, we just had an offer for a really big target. They were going to pay us a lot of money. And I said, let's do it. And we talked to an advisor. Don't do that one. You're not going to touch that one. You don't want to anger the people you would anger by doing this one and get the attention. It's not worth the money. Don't do it. So we do self-censor a little bit.
Yeah.
There
you
have
have to
been
stay
times
alive.
when we've gotten
Yeah.
data in a remote viewing session. I've had data that was redacted. Now, to admit that to the subscribers, they hate that. And we don't say that, like, well, and then I saw this, but we can't show you. Like, you can't charge people to see your product and then keep them in the dark. So I did something on, I just said I wasn't going to do this, and then I'll do it. I'm such a newsman. I love telling juicy stuff.
I
You know,
know you do. I love it. You
here's
remind
the
me of my
here's the
family. You love it.
well,
I'm
for
from
me,
LA, so we love this stuff.
yeah, the value of information for me was being the first to tell it. Like, I would go as a newsman, get information, and then rush to tell everybody. It didn't do any good to hold it. But I'm working with people who were spies, and the value of information for them was to know it and not let anyone else know it.
Yeah.
So I did this coronation, the secret coronation of King Charles, and I did a ERV. I actually videotaped it, where I was laying down in a little EMF tent, and I went to this energy came through me. It was like The Exorcist. I started jerking, and I started, whoa, whoa. And I was like, and I ripped this mask off, and I looked at the camera and went, that was too powerful. And we didn't show that. It was deemed,
Not necessary for the future of the future forecasting group.
when kings are given power, they're literally given power. There is a physical manifestation and energetic field that is put into them. The world is really far more bizarre than you understand. Royalty, they're not just figureheads. It's not just an anachronism, like, oh, like the monarchs are just like, the king is just that's such a quaint little throwback. They don't really have any power. They
They
really
have
do
huge
have.
power. That's why they have
Yeah.
millions of acres of land. Come on. Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
Millions.
It's called alloidial title.
So a
They
loyal
own the
title.
land. And there's the secret that people don't want to accept. People that are the patriots that, like, we're going to take the world back, or, take it for the bad guys. It's like, the United States, we don't own it. Somebody else owns it. We're a business.
For a
We're
long
allowed
time.
as a corporation. And
Out of
people will
Puerto Rico.
people will dismiss that and go, well, that's a conspiracy. That's just, okay.
All they got to do is look. It's all there. It's all there. It's
It is
painful,
all
but
out
it's
in the
there.
open. It is all
Yeah,
out in the
it
open.
really is.
If you care to look and see it. So, and
So Dick, how long do you want to live? How long would you like to be part of the ride? Continue the ride.
my dad lived to be 95. I don't want to brag, but there's a
Come
commercial
on,
on
bring
TV.
it.
There's a woman on
Popeye.
TV, and she's doing a financial thing, like invest with this. And she's going, how long will I live? What if I outlive my money? I've got my 401k. I am on the verge of having more money than I ever dreamed possible. So I want to enjoy that. I want to do some good with it. And so, and I want to see the transition. So I'd like to go another 20 years. I'm 70 this year. I don't know if we're going to survive there are going to be some really big changes coming starting in 94, 95 are really big.
95, 2025.
2000 and
Just
2025.
keeping everybody up to
What
date here.
the heck is going on with me
I
today?
think you're. I think you're. I think you're bilocating on me. Here we go.
Yeah, I was talking back to Mary and Mimi in 1991, 92. So,
The coming
well, I
changes.
think this.
Come on, give some up.
We come here to this existence with a purpose and
Yes.
something we have to accomplish. And when it's our time, Mimi and I were down in Belize during COVID, and everything was locked down. We thought the world was going to end. And Mimi just turned to me and said, if it's our time, it's our time. There's nothing we can do. You know, you can try to be the safest person in the world and a lightning bolt can hit you. There's people that are driving down the road drunk 95 miles an hour
and texting
crash their car, and they walk away. They have a horrific accident and they just walk out of the crash because it's not their time. So, I mean, don't be silly, but yeah, I think.
Can you share a little bit with the public that's on the outside, the other side of the future forecasting group is not a member at this point? Can you share some of what you can share without giving away what you don't want to give away until they're members? About 2024, is there something that you can share outside of regulations that would be maybe relevant, that would be important for them to dive deeper into?
Nation states as a means of organizing and administrating the world are becoming obsolete. They're being deconstructed, and they're being deconstructed right in front of our eyes. You're seeing the influx, the migration that's being allowed. They're not going to close the borders open. They're flying. How do all these people get from sub-Saharan Africa to Mexico to come across the border? How do they fly across the ocean? Someone's flying them. They're going to erase the borders. We're going to have more and more natural catastrophes, fires, earthquakes, tsunamis, that type of thing. The financial system, it doesn't take a genius to look at that and just do the math. We had $33 trillion of debt in September, and now it's 34. So we're putting $1 trillion every 3 months. That's not sustainable. So we're going to a new digital ID, blockchain, total different administration, and technology is going to increase exponentially. If you heard the story of, is it the 42nd fold? If you take a piece of paper, like it's how many microns thick, and you fold it over, it's not very thick, right? And you fold it again. This is I'm illustrating the exponential rate of technology. By the time you fold that 42 times, it would stretch to the moon. And you can look that up, like fold a paper 42 times.
Does that have to do with Moore's law?
Yes. Okay. But it's exponential. We are going to see blockchain, artificial intelligence, Theta coming. You know, people will look back at like how we look at an old grainy still photograph or video from the 20s, that jerky black and white film. They will see high def TV as like so archaic like that when they're looking at three-dimensional interactive video on Theta that's by way of some brain implant or so. I mean,
I want to make a
changes in technology that you can't fathom.
Are mind-blowing. I want to make a suggestion, and maybe your membership may be interested in this, is to go back, not knowing when you're being tasked, and revisit Theta 3 years later. because
Yeah.
you and Hitomi and the team
I
did
think we
Theta. I think
just
it was
did, but
2020. Did
yeah,
you? I
yeah.
didn't see a recent.
Can't remember, but that was one. Now, remote viewing cryptocurrencies is really difficult. Daz and
Oh, I
I
can't even imagine how
pioneered
you're doing that. That's like from another world.
because it doesn't exist. It's like you can't see a blockchain
It's like an
it's
internal universe. Right.
zeros and ones that exist on computers all around the world. So what we finally figured out was that you can remote view the people that created it. What is their intent? Who are they? Where are they? What do they think? The people that are invested in it, how are they going to feel? What's their sentiment going to be a year from now, 2 years from now? You can remote view the headquarters. You can remote view the function. Like in Theta, I saw interactive video. If it's energy web token, you would assume you'd see power lines or
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. So we try to find physical things that can be remote viewed that are associated with the token. And then I came up with a way is like, I think I can see the chart for just a minute. I can see kind of a jagged line, like, okay, it's going up. And we've had some success with that, not all the time. So the point I was making with Theta was some of these tokens, we've done a couple, we've done some that we didn't get good data. It was like totally off. We're not getting anything. Turns out that token doesn't exist 3 years later. So that's why we didn't get, but Theta, we locked on. We all had a good feeling about that. We were all like, yeah, this is going to be big.
Well, you have a lot of evidence for this too, in terms of the infrastructure. They're the biggest players in the world in this
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty
Well,
serious.
when I learned about blockchain, my mentor that was getting me into this, he would do, I haven't done this in a while, but we'd take something like XRP Ripple. Like you go to their website and it will say who's the foundation, what's the Ripple Foundation, who's on it. And you look at all those people and then you Google their name and see who they're associated with. It's like, oh, they're on the board of directors of, Microsoft, or they're on the board of directors
XRP
of
is huge
BlackRock.
too.
XRP,
XRP is all over the place. Oh my God, that Ripple
XRP,
dude.
XRP goes back to the Fugger family. Fugger family, they're European bankers that go back to the time of the de Medici family. They're
Oh
like
my
black
God.
Italian nobility.
Black nobility.
Well,
Yeah. Of
you think they know what's coming? Of course they do. They've been
course
running
they
the
do.
financial system for so
Ripple has been
XRP.
making deals with every country all over the world. I've never seen anything so moving so fast in my life.
Yeah, yeah. So people might not like it. Well, it's the banker's coin and it's the old, but yeah, that's why I'm putting some money in. I doesn't matter whether I put a couple $1,000s into Ripple, is not going to affect whether they live or die. But if it can make me comfortable, but don't give your moral support to them. Well, okay.
People don't understand. There's all kinds of it's complicated. I mean,
Yeah.
it's complicated, but they are all over the place. I've been watching this unfold for
So that's one
months.
of the things we look at behind the scenes when we don't give financial advice, but we do look at tokens that we're buying and why we're buying them. Because if it's so heavily connected to BlackRock and old nobility and existing corporations and governments and high power structure, then it's been designed for a purpose
For
that
the
will,
big stuff. Ripple made a deal with the International Monetary Fund. Come on. I mean,
yeah. Yep. So
and
there you
more.
go.
So yeah, there you go.
I think 24 is going to be a big year for cryptos. Don't you?
I
Plus,
do, and Bitcoin just got, I guess, the accounting matter sorted out. Did you know the accounting side was Michael Saylor and a few others? I think Bitcoin Swan was somebody on it was talking about
yeah.
how the accounting side is now. Everybody was waiting for the accounting portion to come in, and it's now in. It's now come in.
Well, the ETF is going to be approved. So It's going to be a big year, but certainly everyone who listens to your segments knows something's wrong, that something big is coming. They can feel something. I think
There's a lot of
even the
big things in
general populace,
2024, right? Yeah.
even I talk to people because I'm pretty well known for being on newscasts, so I have a wide, swath of people I interact with. But even normal people are realizing something big's, something's not right. Something's stirring. They can feel it. The herd is spooked, like a herd of deer. Like the tails are going up and their ears are going, what's coming?
Are you worried about the potential selection coming up in 2024?
It looks to me like they're pushing us into civil war. I think that they want a civil
Looks
war.
like it, doesn't it? It does. It's
Well,
sad.
they're invoking a constitutional clause that was used in the Civil War. Well,
But
and now
this is misused in the modern times, though. Totally misused.
yes.
I'm going to
I
bring back Edwin Vera. I asked Edwin Vera. I did a 2-hour special with him on the Constitution in 2020, and it was completely suppressed. It's called Calling in the Constitution. You should all listen to it.
who was it that used to interact with him? Davy Kidd? I haven't heard from her in a while.
I think she got cancer.
Oh, but I used to hear her on
think.
Jeff Renton. She was always talking about Edwin Vera, and I've heard him.
Dr. Edwin Vera is one of the greatest minds in the realm. Not only does he know the full scope and breadth and details of the entire Constitution, Bill of Rights, and he brings the Constitution as an initiation into your existence, like you're there, as if you're with the founders. Yeah. It's that amazing.
What an incredible document. Well, what does he say about what they're doing to Trump?
Okay, I just emailed him the other day. He's waiting to see what one particular group does, and he's going to come on.
Oh, I want to hear that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He is he's a brilliant man. He's
remarkable. I'm going to send you in case you're interested in that. It was a few years ago, but it was remarkable. What his ability to articulate the keys to this are unfathomable. He even had a remedy for the Trump White House. Even if it was a Democratic White House, he had a remedy, a constitutional remedy, to usher into the White House so that the country would not go into civil war, and that the election could be not just audited, but forensically audited, and completing that audit and exactly what needed to happen. And it never got to be implemented.
But will that be allowed to happen? I mean,
well, that's a different story, but it was a marvelous, incredible thing.
See, Trump needs more people like him around.
Don't think I didn't try to get Trump to interface with Dr. Vera.
I think I think Trump is realizing that now, that he had some traitors in the inner camp his first time around. So I think if he gets in again, I think he's going to kick ass if he comes in.
He's going to kick ass if he stays.
If they don't kill him,
if he stays.
I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I hope his security is good. I don't see.
I hope if he gets in or whatever, that he does have constitutional guidance. Seriously.
Yeah, he needs someone like Vieira.
Edwin Vera is the man.
They've created this dichotomy. There's you, the civilian over here, and then there's this governmental establishment. And if you say anything against the governmental establishment, you are some kind of seditious individual, insurrectionary, or whatever it is, anti-government person. When they don't seem to realize that the real government of this country is not them, it's you. And they have besotted you with propaganda to prevent you from understanding this.
It was a divine pleasure to be with you. Oh my God, so much. We went all over the place.
Oh, yeah, we were going through.
It was wild. Are we ADD? Are we ADD?
Are. Well, there's just we're so brimming with good information, and interaction. It was really enjoyable. We'll do it again sometime.
I
And
would
I've
love
got
to
to
do
get
it,
in
and I
touch
have
with
many
you.
more questions. I'm going to get you in touch with Lynn. First of all, let me just say something to the audience. Hold on 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite you to share this with your friends and your associates. Share it widely. You need to know about the Future Forecasting Group and Dick Allgire and the work that the team is doing and why it's important to you. I think we're going to really need to rely on what you can make available to us, and also Lynn Buchanan and his team in the coming times. It's going to be a challenging time.
It's been a great pleasure talking with you. We'll do it
Great
again.
pleasure talking
I,
with
I
you.
had a wonderful. Did we just do 2.5 hours? It seems
We did.
feels like
Look
about
what you did.
45 minutes.
I could do another 10 days with you.
Well, we'll do it again.
Yes, I have many, many, many more questions, but we covered so much ground. It was fabulous. What a delight. What a great
Thank you so
Christmas
much.
and Hanukkah gift.
Have a great 2024. Have a wonderful new year, and stay safe, everybody. And aloha from Hawaii. I will now go play guitar.
Aloha. God bless you. Thank you so much. It's Rainmaking Time. Come to itsrainmakingtime.ch and you go to futureforecastinggroup.com.
Yeah, there's a
.com.
7-day free trial too, so you can just sign up and look at some of our stuff. And if it's not for you, you don't get charged. 7
Dick,
days.
to finish this, I would like to hear from you. It's Rainmaking Time.
It's rainmaking time.
It's Rainmaking Time.
It
Let's do this.
It is rainmaking time.
It is Rainmaking Time. To all of you. God bless you. Thanks again.